Melanie Dee Flynn went missing on January 25th, 1977, in Lexington, Kentucky. She has not been found, and no one has been charged in her disappearance. Hey everybody, welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm Christy Brower, here with my sister, co-host and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
It is going well. This week it's flying by.
It
I can't
surely
believe we're
is.
already on our Wednesday cases.
Right? I know, it's going quick, you guys. It's going quick.
It really is. I mean, partly because there's so much happening in some of our big cases that every time I turn around, there's another update. Like case
Yes,
updates tonight are going to be insane.
they
There is
are.
so much going on. I think
There
that's
is.
part of why the week's going so fast because I can't even believe how much is rolling out.
Yeah, just staying up with it. There's a lot. So you're going to definitely want to hang out later on tonight, Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Oh,
Mountain for case updates.
oh, Daybell, Carly, Arion, huge
Yeah,
stuff in all
bunch of
three.
stuff. Yes. So we will have lots of that to share. But before we get there, we have lots to share with you in this episode.
We
So,
do.
Katie, I think we're going to start with a little bit of weird crime time.
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if I should put this under weird crime or what category really, but we went with weird crime because it was the closest one we really had to this case. This is a case update of sorts, but I think it's really worth hearing. You
Mm-hmm.
may remember Andrea Yates.
How could you not remember Andrea Yates? Oh my gosh.
Andrea Yates, of course, was the mother who, at 37 years old in 2001, drowned all five of her children in the bathtub.
Yeah.
This happened in Houston. As soon as she did it, she called 911 repeatedly. She called her husband. She, she never tried to hide her crime. She was very clear about what she did. She was actually diagnosed with postpartum psychosis and schizophrenia, as well
Yeah,
as severe postpartum depression. I mean, she was a rare case of
for sure.
extreme, but she also had five children really close together and hadn't really recovered emotionally or mentally as the pregnancies progressed, I think. And
Yeah.
there were a lot of reasons, but this was a crime that really rocked, the country. It was a horrible thing. And she had even described how some of the older kids fought her, and tried to, save themselves. It was just a terrible, terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah.
And people were so angry at Andrea Yates and so horrified by what she had done, rightfully so.
Sure.
Except for that Andrea was out of her freaking mind. And it's just so sad. She knew she wasn't safe to be home with her kids. She had actually uh, said that repeatedly, that she
Yeah.
didn't feel safe with the kids. And nobody was listening to her. They weren't listening hard enough.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody would have guessed
No.
when she said that she would actually murder all five of her children, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody wants to think that that could happen.
So her trial was in 2002. And initially, she did confess, but there was, the question of her mental health all along. The prosecution really wanted the death penalty. Uh, but of course, the defense was arguing her mental health. And initially, she was convicted in 2002 of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 40 years. But her attorneys came back and appealed the case and got the verdict overturned.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2006, they retried her and she was found not guilty by reason of insanity. This is Texas. That they had the insanity plea,
Right.
and some of your states don't. Idaho does not, but Texas, at least at the time, did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she was remanded to a state hospital, Kerrville State Hospital. It's a mental facility in Kerrville, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So she was remanded there more than 15 years ago. And every year she has the right for a reevaluation to decide if she's ready to be released. And
Right.
every year she waives that right. Andrea Yates could be free, but she's chosen to not be. She feels like this is where she needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
She's happy. Her attorney says that she wants to be where she is and that there really isn't anywhere else for her to go anyway. That this is good. He
It's
also,
true. I mean,
yeah,
where would she go out in the world, you know?
yeah. And her husband eventually did divorce her and remarry. I mean, no big surprise there, you know. Uh, Her attorney said that she grieves for her children daily and that she frequently watches old home videos of them. I mean, she's fully responsible for what she did.
Mhm.
She takes full responsibility for what she did. But one of the things in the People magazine article that I read that just really, really got to me, her attorney said she spends her times making aprons, cards, and gifts in the craft room and anonymously sells them. And the money goes to the Yates Children Memorial Fund, which her attorney and his wife Mary founded and dedicated to women's mental health, particularly postpartum mental health.
Wow.
So she actively earns money for that foundation. I mean,
Mhm.
wow. Like my heart goes way out to her, you know.
Mhm.
It's a horrible thing and of course there's no excuse for murdering your kids. No one's saying there is.
Right.
But this in this instance, I feel like she's done the best she could, you know, to be responsible for what she did. And the fact that
Right.
she has no intention of ever leaving that facility and just waiving her right to have herself reevaluated every year, I think says a lot.
Mhm. It does. It definitely does. You know, for her own safety, it's the best plan. And she may not feel safe in the community. She may question herself, would she ever harm anyone else? You know?
Yeah.
And if she, at least you can tell that she's got some self-awareness, which
Uh-huh.
not everyone who's been through something like that does.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, she's actively in treatment there. She hasn't had a baby in 20 years. You know,
Mhm.
she's probably pretty, you know, pretty normal, pretty spiffed up. You know, I would imagine she,
Mhm.
besides, you know, the grief and the depression and horror over what she did do that will never leave her.
Yeah.
I would imagine if you didn't know and you sat and had a conversation with Andrea, you would be surprised to know what was in her past.
Mhm. I would suspect that too
Yeah.
because of she's obviously got some self-awareness, which I think is cool.
And she's actively receiving treatment. So,
Yeah.
you know, she's
Yeah.
stable. Yeah.
Mhm.
But the fact that she fundraises anonymously for that foundation just really touched my heart. So,
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
if you've ever wondered whatever happened to Andrea Yates, now you know.
Now you know.
Yep. Well, I'm going to kick the mic back over to you for our main case.
Yes. This is a cold read for Katie. And this case was requested by a listener. So thank you. We appreciate your requests. You can always go to our website, truecrimeparanormalpodcast.com, to request a case. And, we can't get to them all, but we get to the ones that feel like fit what we do. And this is a cold read because this is a missing persons case from 1977. So
Hmm.
we do read cold cases, and
Yep.
this is a very, very cold case. This is the missing persons case of Melanie Dee Flynn. So back in 1977, Melanie's dad, Bobby Flynn, was a Kentucky state senator.
Hmm.
And he talked to her at about 4 o'clock on January 25th of 1977. And she worked as a secretary at the Kentucky High School Athletic Association in Lexington, Kentucky. And he had asked her to bring some things home for him that he needed. And she said that she would, and that she had a doctor's appointment at 5:30, and then she would bring these things home. So she left work at 5 o'clock in the late afternoon. She was driving a red 1975 Ford Elite. She was seen turning right on Cooper Drive onto Limestone Street there in Lexington. And she never showed up at her doctor's appointment, and she never came home. She has never been heard from again.
Wow.
Yeah. Her dad reported her missing 3 days later.
Wow, 3 days?
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure why okay, so there's some things to know about Melanie. Melanie had some issues with the law around marijuana use
Okay.
and possibly some drinking. She also had a head injury. She fell off a horse in 1972 and had a really
Oh,
serious head injury.
so she had kind of a TBI?
She did,
Yeah.
and it was thought at the time that it was possible for her to just develop amnesia,
Oh,
and that maybe she just I know this is dumb because no. If she was gonna have amnesia, it would have been at the time of the accident, not all these years later, but at the time, that was thought maybe she had amnesia, just wandered off because she didn't know who she was.
well, we've heard this theory bandied about before. I mean, this is something that,
It's
has been said many times.
these
Yeah.
weak little women that wander off and forget who they are. Um,
Mhm.
so she had about $12 on her when she disappeared. She was supposed to get paid 3 days after her disappearance, and she never picked up her paycheck.
Mhm.
All of her clothes and personal things were left in her bedroom. On February 8th, the police found her car. It was parked at an apartment building on Hollow Creek Road in Lexington. And this was kind of a known drug area
Wait,
at the
that was
time.
how long after she disappeared? Sorry.
This was so on the 8th of February. So she disappeared on January 25th. So
Oh, okay.
2 weeks
2 weeks.
ish. Yeah, less than 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Her coat was in the car. Um, her purse and her car keys were not. So they never really knew how her car got there or why.
Mhm.
But a couple things happened. One is that there were supposedly some sightings of her in Daytona Beach, Florida. And,
Mm.
we hear this a lot with missing persons
Mhm.
that that someone had seen her there between March and June and that they appeared similar to Melanie. And that was never verified, and they never located her there. So there's real questions about if that could possibly really, have been her.
Mhm.
In August of 1977, her purse was found floating in the Kentucky River.
Mm.
And it had lipstick, perfume, and 2 bottles of medicine. One of them was antihistamines. She had some allergies and had to take antihistamines and have antihistamines with her. And so her family was concerned because she did not have her medication with her.
Mhm.
The thing to know, one of the important things to know, is that at the time of her disappearance, she was working as an informant with the police.
Oh, interesting.
She was working with a detective named Bill Kanan, and she basically would take him with her to parties and introduce her as her boyfriend. And he was working undercover, infiltrating the drug scene at the time.
I see.
He did at the time did not believe that their undercover work had anything to do with her disappearance.
Mhm.
And he also said that he did not have a personal relationship with Melanie.
Mhm.
Her parents, on the other hand, said that he was a family friend and that he was most definitely dating her.
Wow.
Now, something interesting happened with Detective Bill Kanan. In 1993, he was arrested on federal drug charges and
Wow.
ended up being part of a big kind of a big drug ring
Mhm.
that had to do it was called the Bluegrass Conspiracy,
Mhm.
and it was a multi-million-dollar drug ring that included well-connected members of the community like police.
Mhm.
So there are some people who believe that he knows what happened or that he had something to do with what happened. Her
Mhm.
parents have believed that all along,
Mhm.
but that's never been proven.
Mhm.
So there, a lot of questions. She wanted to be a jockey, like a for racehorses,
Okay.
and also she wanted to be a singer. She had a stage name. Her stage name was Melanie O'Hara. She had been married briefly and was divorced.
Mhm.
And, her case remains cold. And I'm going to show you a picture of her. They have nothing. There's nothing.
Mhm.
And they've never found her body. And there was kind of a there were some tips, or a tip, I guess,
Mhm.
in 2019, where police got a tip to search a property along the Kentucky River, um, potentially for her body. And this had something to do with that bluegrass conspiracy.
Mhm.
So they were digging in an area called Murphy's Landing along the Kentucky River.
Mhm.
And so sources at the time said that the information about where her body was located came from someone who wanted to get something off their chest. However, nothing was found,
Mhm.
and she continues to be missing. Oh. It's interesting though, because only just a few years ago was this, there was actually some information,
Yeah.
and someone, and maybe her body was there at one point and moved. Somebody knew something there that they just needed to
And
get
that's what
off
I'm
their chest.
that's what's correct. I is what I'm getting.
Okay. This is her.
Mhm.
Her name was Melanie Dee, and she went by Dee Dee mostly.
By Dee Dee.
So those are the details that we know. There's, obviously tons of stuff that we don't know, but I wanted to just kick it to you as a cold read and tell us, what do you think
Mhm.
happened to Dee Dee?
Well, I think I'm absolutely convinced that Bill was involved in this. But I'll tell you, I think she drove her car there herself. I feel like she
Okay.
drove to those apartments herself. I feel like he had put her up to set her up for something different. Normally this was just the going to the parties routine. I feel like he asked her to go to an apartment building and stage a buy or something like that. I
Okay.
feel like this was maybe off the books. It wasn't something that was really necessarily,
Mhm.
what she thought it was. But I do feel like she drove there. She parked her car, she got out, she put her keys in her purse, she carried her purse with her. All of those things she did do. I feel like she was supposed to go and knock on a door and have a brief exchange with somebody, and that he was going to be watching or something along those lines.
Okay.
That's where I feel like things went south. I don't feel like he killed her, but I do feel like he knows exactly who did. I feel like whoever this person is that he had her set up to knock on their door, that
Mhm.
they knew that he had set this up, or that they saw him, something about this went wrong
Mhm.
and she got killed in the process.
Mhm.
And I actually do feel like that's interesting, because I was feeling like the river was involved in this some way, water was involved in this some way. I What I believe happened is that she was buried in that spot. That, they tossed her purse, they buried her near the river there, and then
Mhm.
later on, I think that Bill moved her. I think he knew where she was buried, and I feel like he got nervous down the road and he moved her.
Ah,
I
okay.
feel like he's known all along. And of course, he was quick to
Mhm.
say, "Oh, it had nothing to do with this," and we really, not like we were
Right.
dating or anything. None of those things were true.
Right.
But I do think there was enough corruption that was easy to, you know, to
Mhm.
substantiate. There was a lot of kind of don't ask, don't tell kind of energy there, I think.
Mhm.
And I feel like, like the detectives that were trying to get answers on this case were really stymied by bad information and
Mhm.
lies and, people covering for each other. But I feel like for whatever reason he set this up, not intending to get her killed, but he was doing something off the books and it did get her killed. And he
Mhm.
certainly couldn't, fess up to it because that would have gotten him in trouble. And so this is what happened. I feel like he lied to her parents' faces.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's so sad, that's what they think too.
Mhm.
They have never given up on the idea that he was involved,
Mhm.
and that's just so sad to go 44 years
Mhm.
not even knowing what happened to her, you
Here's the
know?
thing. I still think she's buried on the banks of that river, just
Do
not where
you?
she just not where they looked. Yeah.
Mhm. Wow. Do you think they'll ever find her?
If they do, it'll be a long ways down the road. I don't see that in her parents' lifetime, no. I
Yeah.
don't.
Mm.
I don't. But I feel like he really, really got away with something here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and his corruption finally did bite him, in
Yeah.
1993, but it's sad
Yeah.
that he can't have just come out with it at that point so that her
Mhm.
family could have some closure or something,
Yeah, but the arrogance here is astounding.
Yeah.
Really astounding.
I think the arrogance of using young people as informants and putting them in
Mhm.
dangerous situations like that is astounding anytime it happens.
I do too. I do too, and I've seen it happen with clients' children and put them
Mhm.
in really dangerous situations,
Yeah.
seriously, fracture their mental health. There's a lot of reasons why that shouldn't happen.
No, it
No.
is no, they're literally risking their lives for nothing.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
it's for reduced sentences or,
Right. Yeah, and that's what it was for her. She had been busted with marijuana, and
Mhm.
by doing this, she, you know, didn't have to do any jail time.
Yeah,
But, I mean, the risk to her life, I mean, it just like, think about it. I mean, what else in her life would have led her into such a dangerous situation
right.
than this situation with the police? It makes no sense at all for them to just knee jerk to, "Oh, well, it had nothing to do with this." Are you kidding me? Like,
Mhm.
she's
And
literally
clearly, there was a pretty
informing
serious drug
on drug
problem.
dealers and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Seriously, there was a serious problem in their town at the time. They had all this undercover work happening. I mean, give me a break.
yeah.
But, it's just really sad because she was just I actually think she was planning on being at the doctor on time
Wow.
or close to it, that she was just gonna pop in and do this thing. He told her it would be really quick, just knock on this door. There'd be this
Mhm.
quick exchange. That's all she had to do, and he'd
Yeah.
be
Well, it
keeping an
did
eye
seem
out.
like she had, pretty clear plans of what she was
Mhm,
doing, and this was not
mhm,
she was not expecting to go
mhm,
missing forever, for sure.
mhm.
Wow.
No, she trusted him.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you. Well, that is very sad,
Yeah. Yes, it
but,
is.
um, yeah. So, thank you for the suggestion
Mhm.
to our listener, and there you go. That's what we think happened.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, Katie, I know you have a little WTF news for us, so let's
Oh.
hear that.
You know, we have heard and we've seen in sports, people get pretty heated with officials. And there was a case years ago where a dad followed a basketball referee out to the parking lot after a game and beat him to death. These
That's
things
right.
happen sometimes. They should never happen, but there have been times
There have been, yeah.
where violent incidences have happened. And yet again, a violent incident has happened. This happened in Lithonia, Georgia over
Mm,
the weekend.
Mm.
And I'll show you a picture, but I'm actually going to show you the video too. I hope it doesn't get us kicked off YouTube.
Oh
But
boy.
yeah. So this was after a youth basketball game. Like, we're not talking like, you know, college ball or even school ball. I don't
Hmm.
believe. This was just a youth basketball league. And after the game, uh, some players and some fans beat the crap out of a ref. Like, seriously
Oh,
attacked a man.
holy cow.
Yeah. So I'll show you the video here in a minute. The police were called, but we haven't seen that any charges have actually been filed yet.
Okay.
This actually happened at a church. Hmm.
You and I have participated in a few church basketball games that
Yeah.
came a little close to this, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, it actually literally happened at a church, which kills me. But the rep for the church, this is what they said. This slays me. It is truly unfortunate about the turn of events that took place during the basketball game held at our facility this weekend. We open our doors to serve our community, and our goal is to provide an atmosphere conducive for enjoyment, enrichment, etc. While we cannot control people, it is our hope and prayer that those who enter our facility will conduct themselves in the best manner. Well, bro, they didn't.
No, and probably
Yeah,
some people need to get banned, I'm afraid.
right? This was at the Stronghold Christian Church. And it's not the church's fault. I don't want to indicate that it was, but that
No.
statement, that's so freaking typical, you know?
Mhm.
Anyway, so I'm going to share you guys the video. The sound, the people that are filming it, they kind of act like they think it's funny for a minute. And then they're like, whoa, wait a minute. This is bad. This is
Mhm.
bad. It is way bad.
No, 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 no. No, 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 stop them. I got it.
Oh, yikes.
I have lots of questions. First of all, what the hell were the other referees doing?
They were just standing there and some of them were blowing their whistles, but I'm like, you should probably get in there and defend
This
your
man is
friend.
on the
Hello?
floor being kicked in the face. I
Yeah.
mean, the girl kind of gets over there, kind of like, but I could not believe the other man that just kind of walked in front of the whole ordeal. Like,
Yeah, like, you wanna help your buddy over there?
is this
That's
normal? I mean, that absolutely slayed me. I had to bring that to WTF News because WTF, Georgia, are you kidding me?
yeah, holy cow.
Yeah. So there you
Well,
go.
hopefully they know exactly who all those people are and they get in some trouble. You can't just beat somebody up like that. Even if you don't like the outcome of a basketball game, come on,
There has to be some accountability here. Has to be.
has to be. Yeah, that is not cool.
No. No, and the fact that it's filmed and all over the internet now, you know,
Well, like
no
everything
way
else
of
is
talking
these
your way out
days.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely not at all.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely update that as we if we
Yeah.
hear what goes on with that, and hopefully that ref is okay.
Yeah.
Gosh,
He kind of was fighting off the crowd there for a minute, but there were
but
too
then
many
they
of them.
got him down on the floor, and that's
Yeah.
scary.
It's scary because he was injured, but it could have been so much worse.
He could have been
People
killed.
die from things like that,
Yeah,
and from less force than you'd think, you
mhm.
know?
Getting
It
stomped on. Well, yeah,
and hit and kicked in the head and the face and stuff.
yeah.
But that's no joke. That is really
No.
serious. Yeah, that's quite the deal.
Mhm. Very scary. Well, hopefully that ref is okay and there are consequences for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys, this is our Wednesday episode. So we'll be back tonight, of course, with case updates. You already know we have tons coming, so you don't want to miss that.
Yeah.
7 p.m. Mountain, live streamed on YouTube and Facebook, and of course, will be put up after the fact for everybody that can't make it live.
Mhm.
And then Thursday is the Psychic Hour at 7 p.m. Mountain,
Mhm.
also live streamed, and it is the first Thursday of the month, so we're going to be doing
Yeah.
marching orders by sun sign.
It's going to be great.
So lots of
Yeah.
great content this week and lots more coming. So be
Mhm.
sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment. That helps us to grow. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And you know it. We are True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Thanks for being here.
Take care.